feel.
Good evening, everyone. If you are joining me live as I'm doing this broadcast right now, you're welcome onto the show. This evening, right here in the USA, and depending on where you are watching me from, it might be morning time. I say good morning to you. It might be afternoon. I say good afternoon. And whatever time you are watching me, uh, I'm greeting you as well. Um, If you come across my video on this channel and you're watching, the title says a peep into the unknown. And if you go further to look at the description on what the topic is all about, uh, I'm about to start a series on explaining to our people, most especially Black people all over the world, how we got to where we are. I think it is high time that we need to educate ourselves. It don't matter your level of education, but what matters most is what you've discovered, what you know. And personally, I've looked at a lot of things, and being a prominent role player, being somebody that actually was born in Africa, specifically in West Africa, Nigeria to be precise, in the Yoruba land, which is the new Yoruba nation. Now, I've been a partaker, having lived through these travels that it seems like the Western world put the rest of us Africans in. What happened in the yesteryears to our forefathers during the slave trade era, and then when the slave trade abolition came to be, everybody thought it was over. But what people didn't know was that what was over was the physical slave trade that you can actually see visually with your eyes. But the intellectual slavery did not stop right there. Because by the time the actual and physical slave trade stopped, they have developed a new way to continue with the slave trade through intellectual slavery. And people have been brainwashed well enough to do away with their God-given right, their God-given power to embrace what was sold to them, because they have been brainwashed so much to believe that whatever they have is not good for them. Up to now, as I'm talking to you, an average African will run after anything that comes from the Western world, even though he has something that can do better than what is chasing. He would rather have that which came from the Western world than use his God-given resources, which is far more better than what they are chasing. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because for us to emancipate ourselves from the mental slavery in which we found ourselves, we need to untangle our minds first. We need to know what is going on. What happened to us? Who are we? Where are we coming from? How did we get here? And how can we get out of there? Now, during my research and trying to seek understanding to what we have on ground, because even if you look at it today, I can use myself as an example. Myself living in the United States right now, I know so many times I've come across our other African brothers, African Americans, and if you look at the type of relationship we have with them, both men and women, it's not all that cordial. Some of us might have built our own relationship based on personal understanding and personal grant, but talking about being a black person and seeing another black person, that love is not really there between us and our other African American brothers that were brought up here, that were born here, because they see us as people that look down on them, people that look down on them and think we are better off than them. What they really don't understand is the upbringing, the training, the culture, the tradition is what made us so. We're not being proud. I mean, we're not being boastful or being bossy. We're just being our natural self. Just like the saying goes, we are all princes and princesses. We are all princes and princesses from where we were born. And that is why the pride in us is always busting loose. And where we are, we try to stand our ground. We try to look men in their faces and shake their hands firmly. And we try to stand our ground, especially when we think back and we look back at what happened to our ancestors, how some of them were sold into slavery by a few greedy men, because it's just a few greedy men that caused this havoc to Africa. And we are not going to apportion blames here, because whoever they are, whatever they are far, far gone ever before now. But let's start from here. I've come to understand that when a man wants to take away what you have from you, that man will do anything. That man will use any trick available at his disposal to get, whatever they want from you. They can become your friends. They can be generous. They can do things for you that you don't even expect, which if you look back at history and you flash back at, look back into everything we have been told on how some African people were captured and taken into slavery, you would discover that that was what actually happened. Now, don't get me wrong. Ever before then, we have the intertribal wars going on amongst our people. And what was happening then was people were conquering each other and they were gaining territories so that they can have a larger domain. So you have the Oyo Kingdom and Benin Kingdom. You have, different kingdoms, the Ashanti Kingdom, all of them like that. Now, and then some people, during wartime, if people are captured, then they take them into slavery. Right. So I'm not saying that somebody brought slavery. No, that has been going on, but it was not at the level it got when the white people came. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not apportioning blame to white people or saying black people are innocent. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm just trying to lay a foundation for future references, because this will be a series as we go on. Now, from my findings, after having gone through history books, how the events took place, how some of our greedy forefathers, sold some of their own people that look like them. Now, I've also found traces where it shows that they were actually deceived to sell these people, because they never told them that they were going to maltreat them, which, like I said, we can debate that because we cannot really go by that. Reason being that when you go to Badagry and you look at the slave relics, when you go to that site, you see where people are being tied down. You see the corridors where those people have to walk. And then you see all type of equipment that were used, to tie and gag these people, to the extent that they had to make a hole on their lips sometimes and put a padlock. Now, Are we now saying that those people who were kings then, those people who were warriors in Africa then, that sold these people into slavery, didn't know that they were maltreating them this way? No, they knew. But rather, because of their greediness, they decided to turn their blind side. They decided to turn the other way, pretend not to see what was going on. So we cannot apportion blame. When we blame one side, we have to blame the people on the other side who are also involved. So everybody took part in this. And for you, any of you, my other African American brothers that will come across this video, because like I said, as we go on in this series, I'm still going to bring you some things to show to you that right now we actually understand what took place and we are trying to make amends. We are trying to open our arms and welcome you back home. Anyone amongst you who is ready to embrace us and wants to come back home, we're willing and ready. We're willing and ready to welcome you back home. And we're ready to show you that culture, that tradition which you so much long for. Because looking all over the place now, I'm also seeing everywhere now, I'm seeing white people coming back to learn that culture and tradition. And believe you me, I know these people. If they don't see something good in anything, they don't go there. They don't participate in this. When you see them, dwelling at a certain place or on a certain thing, is because there is something in there that they're trying to get. There's something that they are after. And that is why I'm saying, as Black people, as Africans, we cannot forsake each other. We cannot keep being at each other's throat while other people still come back and continue to, plunder our land and plunder our resources. It is ours. It is our God-given wealth. It is our God-given right. And we should all come together to do what? To develop it and make Africa great. Now, before we can make Africa great, each of us from whichever region or whichever part we come from, we need to put our houses in order first. Like the saying goes, charity begins at home. In my language, in Yoruba, they say, Ile Latin Kesho. Charity begins at home. So now, I've watched so many historical movies like Roots, and I've read so many books about what took place during those periods. One thing that is common is amongst the people that were captured and sold into slavery, you have some that died as warriors. You have, including men and women, you have some that believe they would rather die than become a slave and thereby took their own life on the way. Likewise, we have some that even though they were taken into slavery and they were taken to a foreign land, they refused to let go of their own given name, the name given to them by their parents. They refused to let go of it. They refused to let go of their culture and their tradition. And let's make reference to the man known as Toby in the movie Roots. Sorry, I will not be able to show you a clip because that would be a copyright violation on YouTube. But most of us that have watched the movie Roots, which portrays what happened during the slave trade era, there is a particular character in that movie who was finally named Toby, but his actual name, his own given name from birth, was Kinta Kinte. And when he was captured and sold into slavery, the people that bought him, decided to give him a new name, an English name, just like every other slave. But uh, Kinta refused to take the name because of the pride in him, because he wants to remain who he was. He wants to remember where he came from. He doesn't want to forget how he got there and who he was. But the people that bought him as a slave knew the repercussion of that. They know the repercussion of leaving him alone to continue bearing that name. They know the repercussion of allowing him to always remember that he came from somewhere and he has a certain culture or tradition. They know they had to take that away from him before they can win him over, before they can make him do what they want him to do. Nobody can enslave you or brainwash you if they can't get you to be under their control. And part of the control mechanism is for people to dominate you and take everything that makes you unique away from you. That has to happen first. If that doesn't happen, then they have not conquered you. You are still you. That is why also, if you look at all the territories in Africa that were conquered by the Europeans, whenever they conquered a territory, they put their what? Their flag. And they gave that territory a name because they know that that has to happen. Without that happening, it means they don't have control. So the same thing goes for when a man wants to enslave you. They have to get you to where you understand that they are the boss. They call the shot, and you have to do whatever they tell you. So, in order to get you to submit totally, in order to have total submission from you, which is like an act of accepting that they are superior and they have the final say over you or whatever you do. They have to take away everything that makes you unique, that makes you think you are somebody, that makes you think you are special, that makes you think you belong somewhere or to a certain group of people. So that was why in that movie, Roots, Kinta was being beaten several times just to have him accept his English name and say it out loud. He was beaten severely that even the other African Americans that were there, they were crying for him and they were afraid that he might die. And they were silently praying that he would change his mind and take the English name. And lo and behold, see, every man has a breaking point when he's being punished and he has no power to fight back. No matter how righteous, no matter how powerful you think you are, when you don't have an escape route, when you don't have the necessary tools to put up any kind of defense, or when you're in the midst of people that don't look like you, it's hard for you not to succumb at the end of the day and do what they want you to do. So at the end of the day, we found out in Roots, Kinta finally accepted the name Toby and he pronounced it out before the suffering stops for him. Because that was what the people that enslave him want. They want him to know the fact that they are the boss. So it's like somebody punishing you with every means available and asking you, who is the boss? Who is the boss? And telling you that until you say to their hearing that they are the boss, they are not going to stop punishing you. And that's what it was. So Toby finally gave up and accepted it. And his name was changed from Kinte to Toby. Now, I just went there to make a reference so that we can understand. Now, this method was used in those days to force each and every one of them to embrace what they want them to embrace. Likewise, they were also brainwashed to forget about whatever beliefs they have, whatever type of religion they thought they had before in Africa, because even before they were captured, they were already brainwashing them from back home in Africa, because they brought a new religion and they told them that whatever God they were calling on to, or whatever kind of religion they were practicing, is called paganism, and it's not good. God does not want it. Now they introduced Christianity. And in another part of Africa, some people came from the sub-Saharan and introduced what we know today as Islam. Now, and all this was part of the brainwashing, because if you go all across Africa right now, what you have is Christianity and Islam. Now, we have the other people that are still embracing the other, ancient religion of their forefathers. But these religions are not as popular as these two other religions that I've mentioned, Christianity and Islam. And why is it so? It is so because uh, when the Europeans came, they found out that these people are worshiping some gods, which in the Bible they were referred to as gods with a small letter G, right? And in the Quran, they were referred to as gods too, with the small letter G. Now, one thing is common between the Bible and the Quran. The Bible and the Quran believes in some stories. I mean, in some historical facts and stories that happened. Uh, Let me make reference to like the birth of Jesus Christ, the death of Jesus Christ, and some names. Most names in the Bible you will find in the Quran. Don't forget this. Even with the Europeans and the Asians and in the sub-Saharans, there has been some religion, there has been some religious practice ever before Islam or before Christianity, right? And when we go back to what was called paganism in Africa, which some people still practice up to this present moment, if you go back in the Bible and go in the Old Testament, you will find similar practices like the sacrificing, lambs, goats, and livestock. This was practiced in the Bible, right? Which means that was something acceptable as at a certain time, which means that is, if we are to call that a religion, that would be the most ancient religion. That would have been the first religion, the first way that people were trying to contact God, that people were trying to communicate with God in the olden days. That was the earliest means of communication. Because if we look in the Bible, we will find out that after creation, after God created us, after God created men and put them to dwell on earth and make them to have dominion over all every other thing he has created, then we go back to the story of Abraham, that we all accept is the father of faith, right? We all accept and agree that Abraham is the father of faith. Now, how does Abraham uh how does Abraham contact God? How does Abraham uh make offerings to God? how does Abraham communicate with God? And then let's come down to his children. And we vividly remember the story of Cain and Abel. You remember the story of Cain and Abel in the Bible when they went to make offerings to God. It was said that we're not really in a Bible class, so I might be, putting the names on the wrong thing. So pardon me for that. But I'm just making reference here, and we're just getting started because I'm going somewhere with this. Now, between Cain and Abel, uh, they both made offering to God. One of them went and got the best out of his flocks and killed it to make sacrifice, a burnt offering sacrifice to God, while the other brother went on his farm and get all the rotten products and brought them. Now, at the end of the day, it was said that God accepted that of the other brother who brought the best, calf from amongst his flocks, while God rejected that of the other brother who brought the rotten stuff. Now, at the end of the day, we all knew what happened. The one whose offering was not accepted ended up killing the one that his offering was accepted. That was what we read in the Bible. Now, I'm making references to this because that established the fact that whatever our forefathers, our ancestors were doing, they were not really pagans. They were not doing nothing wrong that has not been done before. And it also established the fact that that was actually the first and the only means of communicating with God in those days, right? Which means if we are to talk about religion, that would be the first religion. Even today, some people still refer back to it as the Abrahamic religion. Some people still call it the Abrahamic religion. So when we talk about religion, the most ancient religion is what we have come to know today as paganism, because Christianity tells us that's paganism, and Islam tells us that's paganism. But that was also practiced in the Bible. It was actually the first mode of worshiping God practiced in the Bible, which we Christians now know as the Old Testament, because there's a New Testament. And in Islam, up to date, most of those things are still being practiced. Because, like in Islam, up to now, they're still using most of the laws that in the Bible we call the Old Testament. But the Muslims still believe in those laws, like the law that says that when a man steals, his hand should be cut off. The law that says that when a man, when a woman fornicates, they should be stoned to death. Things like that, right? And then when you look in the Bible, when God told Abraham to give him Isaac, to sacrifice Isaac to him, before God now replaced Isaac with a ram, right? Which now nullifies that. And that was why, up to date in Islam, the Muslims still celebrate that festival and they still kill ram to celebrate that festival. In Christianity, we don't do that. I'm making references to all these points just to establish that this thing that you are being told today is paganism was actually practiced in the ancient days, and it was also practiced in the Bible. I don't want to be making long videos. I want my videos to be short so that people will have easy access to them, and it will not be so boring, since I might not be showing you videos just to avoid copyright violations. And since I'm going to be the one talking, so I'm going to make the videos short. Each episode will be a short one, and there will be a continuation after. So this is the first in the series, and this is where I'm going to round up today. And on the next video, I'm going to continue from where I stopped. So if you are new, I will enjoin you to please, if you find this interesting, please subscribe to this channel because I'm about to take you on a journey. God help me and reveal some hidden things to us. That's why I call it a peep into the unknown. That is why I title it a peep into the unknown. So I would like to take us on a journey and show us how we have been brainwashed, how we have been systematically brainwashed and move away from our God given rights and God given resources. While other people brainwash us and they are the one harvesting our God given resources and our God given wealth because they've got us where they want us to be and they've set us against each other. So until I come your way again on another part of this series, I remain yours, Mike Ola. Bye.